In terms of, yeah, this whole intangible economy or the kind of increasing digital economy, and maybe digital is not going to affect all industries in the same way. Some will probably not need as much digital investment, but let's say for most organizations, digital investment is increasing, especially after COVID and physical distancing, and a lot of organizations realizing that they're just kind of late to the game in terms of digital investment. Does that, as people bring on more digital strategy, does that change the way you look at brand economics? Or does that just become another kind of slice in the digital ecosystem? And, we need to just further expand those teams and those KPIs and continue having some central way of managing and monitoring those KPIs to help build brand.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the digital world is important, right? We often get sucked into an overly digital world, right? Where we forget everything else, right? Digital at the cost of everything else, all these like non-digital touch points, which are still immense creators of value and engagement and generate unbelievable amounts of brand equity. And there's actually like there's four parts of this. There's essentially four pies. The first pie is your digital world, right? Anything that you could do in the digital space. And, social media, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever that you're in. And then there's a pie, that entire digital pie is just one slice of a media mix pie, right? And that media mix pie includes things that are outside of the digital world, includes radio, billboards, right? The classic out of home, and other functions of media, television. And that entire media mix pie is just one slice of a marketing mix, right? Which includes, PR, and other elements of the marketing mix itself. But all of that stuff is just one slice of your brand mix, right? Your entire brand mix model itself. So anyone who's focusing just on the digital side, and they've got these great models, and some of them are like the ROMI models, right? Return on marketing investment, things like that, are ignoring that. That's just one slice of a much larger pie, right?
Sure.
Which is the entire brand and brand experience mix.
Yeah. To kind of complicate your ecosystem one step further, I think that from a marketing perspective, that all makes sense. To add another layer of complexity, I feel like when you're getting into digital and creating a product, service, or building any sort of digital efficiency application, internally focused or externally focused, it's almost like duplicating that ecosystem, because now you're starting potentially a whole business line. And it's not enough to just say, and I think this totally ties in with the whole brand economics concept. It's not enough to just say, we're gonna start an e-commerce store. Okay, great.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome. Probably a good fit for most organizations that feel like that's the way they need to go. How are you supporting this? Like, what happens if, as a customer, I order something, I got the wrong product, or I'm not happy with the product and I want to return it? Do you have staff that are trained to support that? Do you even have those people at all? Or, you launch this happens quite often to us, actually. Organizations want to do something digital. And I find that the problem usually is most often attached to something that's revenue generating. We want to launch a new app that we're going to now deliver our service or product digitally. Okay, well, you also have salespeople. Are the salespeople going to help drive that? And how are they going to drive that? Have they been trained? Oftentimes, that's hasn't even been considered. It's just, let's go digital. Let's design and build this digital thing. And then, a year later, it's not performing to the same degree that it should perform. And you start to hear that, salespeople are not leveraging it. Operations doesn't know how to use it properly. No one's been brought into the kind of that ecosystem. So I just think that organizations should have like a cheat sheet ecosystem infographic around their desk, and anytime a new digital product is being introduced or being talked about, which is great because a lot of ambitious organizations have tons of these ideas, that organizations should refer back to this ecosystem and ask the questions: how are we supporting it? How are we growing it? How are we consistently keeping the customer experience as high as the rest of the organization? And how are we making it seamless for those end users? Because I think sometimes those questions are missed, and it's full speed ahead. And oftentimes when that happens, we have to give some bad news and say like, okay, well, we're not going to do this project because it's not going to be successful because you haven't thought about all these other pieces to help support it after it actually launches.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example of essentially that team sport mentality for brand, right? Because it really does take a village or a team, or, I think I've joked about like LeBron before, right? LeBron's LeBron. He's got great skills, but there's a team around him to support him. And if you changed anything about any one of those things, or you changed the schedule, you added more games or whatever, there's a ripple effect felt around that ecosystem that supports him, right, to be successful. And yeah, if you don't have that, if you haven't thought through that, or if people aren't in tune with it, right, or think about it in that way, someone's going to drop the ball, and there's going to be huge consequences.